Now, a impartial observer would like to see whether the selection has been fair or not. That means, whether the two judges are working in concordance or discordance. So, here in place of the numerical values, for example, the judges might have given some marks before giving the ranks to these candidates, but those are not important, because what is important is the selection procedure is unbiased or not. So, in that case it is beneficial to look at the ranks and the correlation between these ranks. So, there is a procedure, or you can say a term called Spearman's rank correlation coefficient, which is introduced for this purpose. Spearman's rank correlation coefficient. So, let x 1 y 1, x 2 y 2, x n y n be a random sample from a bivariate population. Let R I be equal to rank of x I and S I be say rank of y I. So, what is the meaning of rank? We arrange these x i's and y i's in an increasing order. So, the smallest value is given rank 1, the second smallest is given rank 2, like that. So, now the data may be discrete or continuous. If the data is continuous, then the probability of equality of two observations will be 0. So, in that case the rankings will be unique, that means all the ranks from 1 to n will be allotted. So, if continuous random variables are considered, for example, I considered heights, weights, incomes. So, these are all can be considered as continuous random variables. Then the ranks will be unique. So, R I, S I both will belong to the set 1 to n. If we want to calculate the correlation coefficient between ranks here, I will give a notation say R star, because R we used for Karl Pearson correlation coefficient. So, this will be sigma R I minus R bar into S I minus S bar divided by sigma R I minus R bar square root sigma S I minus S bar square. So, basically what we are doing, in place of x I and y i's we are using R i's and S i's. So, from the same set of data, in place of using the numerical values or numerical measurements corresponding to x and y random variables, now we are making use of their ranks. Now, if we are making use of the ranks and if we are making this assumption that continuous random variables are there, then these values of R and S are between 1 to n only, and all the values are considered here. That means, if I look at sigma R I, this will be the sum of the numbers 1 to up to n. Similarly, S i's they will be 1 to n. Therefore, all these quantities can be actually evaluated. So, we can see here sigma R I or sigma S I is equal to 1 to n. This is nothing but 1 plus 2 plus up to n, that is n into n plus 1 by 2. So, R bar and S bar they will become n plus 1 by 2. Similarly, we can calculate sigma R I minus R bar whole square or sigma S I minus S bar whole square, because sigma R I square or sigma S I square that will become n into n plus 1 into 2 n plus 1 by 6. that is the sum of squares of the first n integers. So, these values can be easily calculated, and it turns out that this is n into n square minus 1 by 12. So, if we substitute these values in this particular formula for r star, this turns out to be 12 into sigma r I s I divided by n into n square minus 1 minus 3 into n plus 1 by n minus 1. Now, so one thing is one can calculate sigma r I s I, that is product of the ranks, and substitute here, but there is a simplified procedure for this which I will be developing now. You define now say d I to be the differences in the, let me write capital D I, differences in the ranks r I minus s I. So, this of course, you can write as r I minus r bar minus s I minus s bar, because r bar and s bar are same. So, they will cancel out. So, if I look at sigma of d I square, this turns out to be sigma r I minus r bar square plus sigma s I minus s bar whole square minus twice sigma r I minus r bar into s I minus s bar. So, this turns out to be 1 by 6 n into n square minus 1 minus twice sigma r I minus r bar s I minus s bar. So, from here sigma r I s I can be substituted in terms of sigma d I square. So, if we substitute that here in this particular formula, we get r star is equal to 1 minus 6 sigma d I square divided by n into n square minus 1. So, this particular term is called Spearman's correlation coefficient. So, the only difference is that we are not using the numerical values corresponding to the random variables, but the ranks of those values in the set of data that is given there. So, as an example, let me calculate in this particular case. So, here these can be considered as r I, this can be considered as d I, s I. So, let us calculate here d I's, that is r I minus s I. So, this is 0, this is 1, 1 minus 2, 1, 1 minus 3 minus 1, 3 and 1. So, if we look at d I square, that is 0, 1, 1, 4, 1, 1, 9, 1, 9, 1. So, sigma d I square is equal to 1 plus 1 plus 4 28. So, now if we substitute in this particular formula, that is 1 minus 6 sigma d I square divided by n into n square minus 1. So, the value of r star, that is equal to 1 minus 6 into 28 divided by 10 into 99, which can be simplified little bit, 1 minus. So, that is equal to, well, some value will come 3, this is 5, this is 33. So, we get here 168 divided by 1 . I am sorry, this is 28 divided by 165, that is equal to 137 by 165. So, which is of course less than 1, but it is near about, if we calculate the actual value, it will be 0.8 approximately. So, this is showing a high degree of correlation between the choices of, or you can say the preferences of judges 1 and 2 as far as the selection of the candidates is concerned. That means, the candidates whom judge 1 gives a higher rank, the judge 2 also tends to give higher rank to the candidate. The candidates whom judge 1 gives lower ranks, the judge 2 also tends to give lower ranks to those candidates. So, there is a high degree of, you can say, accordance or concordance or concurrence between the two judges here. Since this formula for the rank correlation is calculated from the Karl Pearson correlation coefficient, therefore, the properties which the correlation coefficient satisfies also true here. That means, we will have in general minus 1 less than or equal to r star less than or equal to 1, and this will be then again considered as a measure of linear relationship, but this is relationship between the ranks. That means, for example, if we are considering r star is equal to 1, that means this is showing a perfect positive linear relationship between the ranks r and s. Similarly, minus 1 will denote perfect negative correlation linear relationship between the ranks r and s. So, all the observations related to the Karl Pearson correlation coefficient are valid here also. The only difference is that the correlations are calculated for the ranks rather than the raw values here. We will just consider one more example. So, we have heights of fathers and heights of say sons, and the data is as follows. Sorry, this is not heights, this is weights. So, there are 12 pairs 65, 68, 63, 64, 67, 70, 64, 65, 68, 69, 62, 66, 70, 75, 66, 67, 61, 63, 72, 74, 69, 71, 71, 76. Now, rather than calculating the correlation between the raw values of the weights, we will consider their ranks. The reason is that we want to say that the heavier fathers have heavier sons and lighter fathers have lighter sons. So, if you want to say that, we just look at the ranks. So, if we look at the ranks RIs and SIs here, it turns out 5. So, from lightest to the heaviest we arrange 5, then this is 6, this is 3, this is 2, 7, 8, 4, 3, 8, 7, 2, 4, 10, 11, 6, 5, 1, 1. That is the highest, the heaviest father has the heaviest son, 12, 10, 9, 9, 11, 12. We want to see the concordance or not. So, if we look at the R star, for that we need to calculate the differences. DIs are minus 1, 1, minus 1, 1, 1, minus 2, minus 1, 1, 0, 2, 0 and minus 1. So, here if we calculate sigma di square, that is equal to 16. So, 1 minus 6 into sigma di square by n into n square minus 1, that is equal to 1 minus 6 into 16 divided by 12 into 143. After simplification, this value is 0.944. So, you can see that there is a high degree of relationship, or you can say linear relationship in the ranks of the weights of the fathers and the sons. So, we can safely conclude that the heavier fathers have heavier sons. Yet another measure of correlation, where in place of the raw values we look at only their magnitudes, is Kendall's tau correlation coefficient. In the ranks, we looked at the position of the numerical value in the ordering of the observations. Here in the Kendall's tau, we look at the side. That means, if we are having two values, say xi's and xj, then if xj is on a higher side of xi, then whether yj is on the higher side of yi, or in the reverse. So, this is called concordance or accordance. So, let us write, let x1 y1, x2 y2, xn yn be a random sample from a bivariate population. So, we have the following definition for concordance or discordance. For any two pairs xi yj and xi yi and xj yj, we say that the relation is perfect concordance. So, concordance here means agreement, they are in the agreement if xi is less than xj, whenever yi is less than yj, or xi is greater than xj, whenever yi is greater than yj. The relation is perfect discordance or disagreement if xi is greater than xj, whenever yi is less than yj, or xi is less than xj, whenever yi is greater than yj. So, like the ranks, this concordance or discordance also gives some indication of the kind of relationship that they are having. So, we create a measure of the concordance or discordance based on the following. Let us define pi c is equal to probability of xj minus xi into yj minus yi greater than 0. You can see this is the probability of concordance, and we can consider pi d as the probability of discordance. Of course, we may have to include equality at one place to exhaust all the possibilities. So, if the random variables are continuous, then you will have pi c plus pi d is equal to 1, because the probability of equal to 0 will be negligible or 0. So, we define tau that is equal to pi c minus pi d. This is called Kendall's tau correlation coefficient or measure of association. If the distributions are continuous, then we may take tau is equal to twice pi c minus 1 by putting pi d is equal to 1 minus pi c, or you can say it as 1 minus twice pi d. Now, if x and y are continuous and independent, then by symmetry you must have probability of x I less than x j is equal to probability of x I greater than x j, that is equal to half. So, in that case this pi c value will be equal to probability of x I less than x j into probability y I less than y j plus probability of x I greater than x j into probability of y I greater than y j, and because of the symmetry this can be then written as x I greater than x j into probability of y I less than y j, that is probability of x I less than x j into probability of y I greater than y j, which is nothing but pi d. So, that is for independent and continuous random variables, tau is equal to 0. Like in the Karl Pearson correlation coefficient, for independent random variables the Karl Pearson correlation coefficient was 0. The converse of this is not true. However, as in the Karl Pearson case, the bivariate normal distribution has a peculiar property that independence and the correlation is 0 are equivalent. The same thing is true here also. For bivariate normal populations, x and y are independent if and only if tau is 0, if and only if rho is 0. We look at a sample measure for or you can say sample estimate for tau. So, we can define like this: define a psi function for x 1 y 1 and x 2 y 2 pair as 1 if they are in concordance, otherwise you define it to be 0. Then naturally expectation of psi is equal to pi c. So, we can consider an average of the all such pairs. That means, we may consider u is equal to 1 by n c 2 for all n c 2 pairs of x I, y I and x j, y j for 1 less than or equal to y less than j less than or equal to n. Then t that is equal to 2 u minus 1 is Kendall's sample correlation coefficient. Again we will have the value of t between minus 1 and 1. Of course, one may like to carry out a test of hypothesis whether this theoretical measure of association tau, that is h not tau is equal to 0 against tau is not equal to 0. One can have a small sample test, one can work out the distribution of u. In fact, Kendall has tabulated the distribution of the points of the distribution of t. However, a large sample test is given based on the approximation that the distribution of 3 into root n by n minus 1 root twice into 2n plus 1 5 into t is asymptotically normal 0 1 under h naught. So, one can use this for testing the hypothesis tau is equal to 0, and it has been observed that approximation is good for n greater than or equal to 8. Let me give an overview of the topics that we have covered in this particular course till now. We started with the probability, the basic definition of the probability. We gave some basic methods such as the relative frequency definition, the classical definition. Then we saw that a general framework based on the Kolmogorov's axiomatic definition can be given for the probability, and we saw various tools, or you can say various results related to the basic probability like addition rule, multiplication rule, conditional probability, Bayes theorem, etc. Then we introduced the concept of random variables. We saw the types of random variables, that we have discrete random variables, we have continuous random variables, we may have mixed random variables. Then we talked about the probability distributions of random variables. The probability distributions of the random variables can be described by using probability mass functions, probability density functions, and cumulative distribution functions. We also saw the characteristics such as mean, variance, third order moments, fourth order moments, a moment generating function, measures of symmetry, measures of peakedness, which are called measures of skewness and kurtosis. We also saw some sort of probability bounds in the form of Chebyshev's inequality. We discussed the jointly distributed random variables, that means in place of one, if we have two random variables or we have several random variables, we can talk about the conditional distributions and the marginal distributions, the joint correlation coefficient, the joint moment generating function, etc. In particular, we studied spatial distributions. In the univariate case, we studied discrete uniform distribution, binomial distribution, Poisson distribution, which arise in Bernoullian trials or in a sequence of events which can be described by a Poisson process. We looked at distributions such as hypergeometric distribution, a geometric distribution, a negative binomial distribution. In the continuous case, we discussed uniform, normal distribution, exponential distribution, gamma distribution, etc. In the bivariate case, we saw bivariate normal distribution, and we saw a brief view of multivariate distributions. In the theory of several distributions, then we saw some specific distributions which are useful for carrying out inference, that is estimation and testing. So, we looked at sampling distributions such as T, chi-square and F distribution. In the next part, we have seen that when the data is given, we need to represent the data in a graphical form or by tabular form. So, we saw the graphical representations and the tabular representations, the frequency classifications, and certain measures of central tendency and dispersion based on these. Then we also studied the concept of statistical inference, that what we want to do in inference. So, we want to do estimation, we want to do create a confidence interval, or we want to do the testing of hypothesis. We have discussed all these methods in detail. In the theory of estimation, we considered how to derive estimators, for example, using the method of moments or the maximum likelihood estimator. We also saw the criteria for judging the goodness of estimators using the criteria such as unbiasedness, consistency, efficiency, the criteria of minimum variance unbiased estimators, etc. We gave the method of constructing confidence intervals. In the testing of hypothesis, we introduce the concept of most powerful tests and how to derive them. In particular, we saw the applications for deriving the tests of hypothesis for one sample problems and two sample problems when the data are taken from the normal populations. We also saw the tests for the proportions in binomial populations. Finally, we discussed chi-square tests for goodness of fit for various situations, such as testing whether the data comes from a given distribution, whether we can assume independence in contingency tables, whether the proportions or responses are homogeneous when the sampling is done from different strata. Then we also introduced two other measures of correlation or association called Spearman's rank correlation coefficient and Kendall's tau coefficient of association. So, we have covered all the elementary topics of probability, distribution theory, estimation and testing of hypothesis. A detailed theory about testing and estimation will be covered in the course statistical inference, where we tell in detail how to derive the tests, how to obtain the estimators, how to evaluate the performance of the estimators, how to find the shortest length fixed width confidence interval, or how to find highest coefficient and the fixed width confidence intervals, etc. Some of the other areas of the statistical inference are statistical quality control, regression analysis, multivariate analysis, designs of experiments, time series and forecasting. So, these are parts of different courses that we will be doing in upcoming courses. So, the references, as I have mentioned earlier, there are excellent textbooks on probability and statistics, such as Hines and Montgomery, etc. There is a book by Bhattacharya and Johnson, there is a book by Milton and Arnold, there is a book by Sheldon Ross, there is a book by V. K. Rohatgi and Saleh. So, one can use any of these textbooks for various concepts and the problems. I have discussed in detail each concept with various applications. So, I think this would be quite helpful. With this, we end this particular course of probability and statistics.